when they come to me and they ask me how they're going to make money, that in itself is a problem, because making money isn't the difficult bit. Solving a problem is the difficult bit. A lot of it is, for whatever reason, the inverse of what we're teaching you.
What do you think today a luxury firm should do in order to stand out from the rest?
This is the key. The vibe is what people want. They want to feel validated. And if you offer them that, and that's what luxury brands are supposed to do, they're supposed to validate your existence. We queue up. Worrying about the future or worrying about doing the right thing is missing the point. The opportunities that come your way are often by accident. One of these conversations is going to lead to the rest of your life.
That's true. Well, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to a young adult coming out of university or still in university, someone who's ambitious, wants to grow, but at the same time is quite unsure about his future? What would you tell him or her?
It's a dangerous one, because
Callaghan, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. When I started developing the idea of a podcast, you were actually the first person I wanted to chat with. This is because in all our meetings you left me with great insights and you kind of shifted my perspective on several things. And I'm sure whoever will listen to this conversation will get extreme value from it. To begin and provide some context, who is Dominic Callaghan for those who don't know you yet, and what do you do?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a professor at the university, but essentially what I do in the business world is I facilitate. I make, it's about scale and growth a lot of the time, and that can be different things, different companies. It might be entering different markets, it might be about percentage share of a given market, or it might be scaling size. Sometimes we accommodate, people who want to merge or acquire new businesses, or exit strategies for people who have developed businesses and are entering that phase where they want to step away, where they feel that more investment might be necessary to take it to the next stage. A lot of it is international in context and means that I have to travel a fair bit to different areas. I enjoy that. That's my favourite bit, is the different cultures, and I'm constantly fascinated by the way that different people do business and different groups, etc., and demographics have different desires. So that's essentially what I do.
Especially here in Monaco, we are surrounded by diversity.
Exactly,
so
yes.
We are experiencing every single day. I remember in one of our first conversations, you told me that the best marketing is having a good product.
Well, that certainly helps. I think that, yes, I would say if you have something, I think there's a lot of miscomprehension about what marketing really is. And it's essentially a branch of economics, which is trying, if you will, to, on the bright side of marketing, we're trying to make a better future. We're solving problems and we're foreseeing where those problems might lie. That can take many different forms. It can be about ideology, it can be about philosophy, it can be about a better product, it can be about changing the perception of how we see our world. And that is essentially, in a nutshell, what marketing should be. Now, obviously, in today's world, we have a situation where advertising, social media, etc., is very powerful, and it has using that power indiscriminately. And therefore, we do see quite a lot that people are influenced in a way that might not be healthy. However, marketing in its core is about doing a service for people before they might even know they need one.
What do you see indeed are the biggest misconceptions people have when trying to promote their products?
I think if you're not, when people, young people especially, but not just young people, when they come to me and they ask me how are they going to make money, that in itself is a problem, because making money isn't the difficult bit. Solving a problem is the difficult bit. Finding something that people are looking for, and often if it's about making money, then you should look around at what people already buy and do it better. Make it quicker, make it simpler, make it more efficient, whatever it is, that because 99% of people are not going to reinvent the wheel, they're not going to come up with a new platform or anything like that. They're going to be entering markets that are mature, that are there because people have basic wants and needs. When that occurs, you've got to find your space. Essentially, you've got to define your space by bringing something fresh. And even if that's just a different approach, a different delivery method, there must be something, there must be a unique selling point that you're bringing to the market.
Focusing on the product rather than advertising.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a client and he's so happy. He says he gets in the morning and there's $1,000 on his desk because what he sells, people are really happy with it. And you find that, you know, in today's kind of brand ambassador world, influencer, retro, we don't have any confidence that a lot of the people that we follow actually use the products that they purport that we should use. And you'll notice a swing in the last year or so on YouTube, for example, where a lot of YouTubers have been forced to make more of a storyline where they explain how this product that's sponsoring their video is useful in their lives. Because before, Jake Paul would pop up, say, drink this, eat this, or Mr. Beast, or whoever it was. And because we're more sophisticated now, because we're more in tune with what's happening in social media, we're aware that that might just be a blag, might just be a sales pitch. And though there's nothing wrong in it of itself to be a sales pitch, the authenticity of a useful product only comes through its utility, through being used and making somebody's life a better place. And that's why you've seen this shift, but we've become more cynical. So we need to find something that is of value, and value is a tricky thing to define.
100%. And speaking of advertising, we can clearly see today the major luxury brands are spending millions on their brand image, but the market, despite that, is experiencing a crunch. And what is this?
I'd say, economically, people are, across the Western world, especially, are feeling the crunch. They're feeling that the purchase power in the pocket is not what it was. And you can tell people the price of eggs are coming down. You can tell them that they're getting better value today than they ever did before. But going to the grocery store, people feel it. They can see shrinkflation. They can see the prices going up. They can see the demand, the supply, essentially. I mean, I've been trying to find eggs. I actually bought some eggs the other day, and when I got to the case, the till, I was saying, do you cook these like chicken eggs? Because they were that small. I wasn't sure what particular bird might have provided them. And that's insane. The things, all of these things we're aware of, and they're just not funny anymore. So it's one of the problems I have with, say, the concept of luxury is that it exists in a vacuum, and it doesn't. And neither is it, like, if you will, a separate planet revolving around the similar sun. It's part, for me, if you like, I think of it as a pyramid. And the base is your retail base, which is, if you think of the Maslow structures that we've looked at in class and things, you'll be aware that they have to be satisfied first before you can move on to the other layers. Now, Maslow didn't design that as a pyramid as such, and that triangular thing we're all familiar with is the best misrepresentation you could have of what his ideas. However, there is a pinnacle. And if we consider that luxury, say, is at the top of that, that particular pyramid triangle, the apex, then everything else has to lead to that point. And if there's a break in that chain, if there's something that disturbs the equilibrium, then it's going to be felt all through the structure, and the structure is going to be rocked. And that's basically what's occurring. At the moment, we're seeing fractures and people moving away, and those with larger budgets, more money, more purchasing power, are demanding, if you like, that there's a separation. Now, that separation has been visible for me for a while, where things are unnecessarily expensive. And this is purely for flex and ostentation, where a certain demographic can afford to say, we can afford this, you can't. Now, once upon a time, that signalled you were getting better quality, that you were getting a better deal, that there was something of the longevity there of a product you might buy, etc. While that can still be true, the majority of cases it's not. Technology has overtaken the artisans of the past, and you can find great quality at a very low price. But if you look at, say, there's all kinds of examples, but on the high street, for example, I think we're all aware that, say, Zara is slightly more expensive than it used to be. But we can rely on the products we buy from Zara to come out of the washing machine looking something like they went in, only cleaner. And that's the goal, really. Now, it's not too much to ask that you spend $30 on a t-shirt and you can wear it more than 5 times. And if you get that for $30, why would you spend 100? And if you like, there's a sort of herd mentality that's occurred, whereas together we've all been educated into the fact that we're being sold a pup. They essentially, there's nothing rare about a Louis Vuitton bag if everybody's got one. And if the buckle breaks or the handle breaks, you can feel, you can see. Now, it might look shiny and new when you first buy it, and you know that through constant wear and tear, is it going to look as good in 6 months? Certainly in a year, you're going to notice things. And when you've made a significant investment, you expect some kind of return. And I think that the public has been sadly let down, because most of us start off with aspirational items that we really want to get. And after that glow of purchasing something you've been looking forward to and you feel great about, now proudly being the owner of new shoes, new dress, whatever it might be, there's got to be something about that you've invested wisely. And once upon a time, not that long ago, we were told, get this is where it's at, man, don't care about bling bling. And now it's like, you deserve this, you merit this kind of thing. And you're looking, what do I merit? How can I possibly be expected to keep you placing these fashionable items at this kind of price every season? And I think people have slowly woken up to that. And that's impacted, along with the economic issues, the basic drain in quality, and on people's patience.
Do you think that this declining quality is also played by those conglomerates or public traded groups such as LVMH, who are pushing to have higher margins on the product?
It doesn't help, does it? I mean, I think that if you're in a situation where you can make a quick buck out of, I mean, if you take the high street brands, say LVMH or whatever, any Akiri, any of the leading houses, holding houses, we've all seen the increase in prices for things like Chanel. They've like tripled, quadrupled almost in the last 2 years. Longchamp has shifted up gear, and it's much more expensive on an entry level than it used to be. Lancel is edging towards significant investment for your first handbag and things like that. And people are very carefully positioning themselves. There's internal wars, we've all seen these programs, etc., etc. Bernard Arnault's son goes into Tag Heuer, suddenly their prices have got doubled in some cases. What you consider to be entry-level luxury, which was Tag Heuer, I think nobody would dispute that, say 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's a significant pay. You're looking at like, I looked yesterday, the price of Tag Heuer in a window. I was in Geneva the other day, and they were like 3,000 Swiss francs, which is a significant investment. And when you consider what you can buy in that price range, it's positioning itself to be in competition with those particular brands. And those brands have a choice, because though the money can increase, people can earn more cash and they can have more to spend, the actual products themselves are appealing to a diminishing market. Now, people in Europe expect to have quality products, and they expect to have a nice watch, they expect to have nice products, etc. And there's a lot to choose from. But what you're thinking about now is that if everything is of a similar quality, why wouldn't I save myself some money and have something that's acceptable rather than standing out? And these things, the prices are the one thing that stand out about them. That's the one thing you notice first and foremost for a lot of these brands. Now, I was looking in the windows there, Rolex don't have the prices in, Omega do. So pretty much, if you can see the price in the window of a watch, that watch company needs to sell them products as quickly as possible. And when they do that, instead, say, in the past where you might discount or you might offer certain things, and Rolex have been a bit edgy recently with their figures, you can be sure that they're having issues. Now, I know for a fact that Omega are having some difficulties. They're being replaced in second place. Some of the more high-end luxury watches are making more profit through selling less units. And that in itself is a dilemma. That's the constant marketing dilemma. There are only two things that are guaranteed to work. One is sell very little at a very high price and a big markup, or sell a lot at a tiny fraction of thin margins. And that's not attractive. it's not attractive to the luxury market to make a minimum margin.
Of course. And also I'm thinking about scarcity, which is one of the hallmarks of luxury, and actually a guy called Thorstein Veblen, economist from the beginning of 20th century, used to say a good is truly luxurious not just because it's costly, but because one person's consumption diminishes another's ability to have it. Do you think that today what counts as scarce has changed?
I think that Veblen is very interesting, and I think that a lot of the historical stuff he says about ostentatious wealth is still pertinent. However, I think there's an element of it's jealousy as well. I think that we've got to be careful about that, in so much as that ostentation in and of itself is a vice. It's not a good thing. To rub people's noses in the fact that you've got more than them is a recipe for disaster, especially in today's powder keg times that we live in. We need to be very careful about expressing ostentatious wealth in certain areas. Now, one of the great things about Monaco is you can wear your bling, you can wear your brands, you can dress how you like. If you go home to Milan, you're very careful about what you'll be wearing on the train there, that you've been going to school here, for example. That freedom comes at a price, because you're not actually demonstrating it in front of the people who might get offended. Now, if, for example, it's diminishing returns effectively. If you need the very best, the investment required to make something better than what you've already got is enormous, and the returns are really minimal. If you think about, like, say, having a diamond-studded iPhone, or you're having something, there's nothing technically that you can pay for that not everybody has access to, because that's how it works. Communication, it's not, if you and just your buddies can communicate quickly, then that's of no value. But everybody, that is the whole point of communication, is that it's all encompassing. So therefore, everybody has to have the best, or the opportunity to use the best, otherwise it's useless. So with that said, then it's just the packaging. So if you want a diamond coated iPhone, then it's going to be out of date in 6 months. And it's just that thing. It's a thing perhaps of beauty, but it, as its utility is diminished, because it's going to become outdated because of the tech. Now, we all buy those kind of things for their utility. And though it's nice to be able to have a little bit of bling, certain brands have tried it. Prada, famously, in about 2012, around that time, used to do cases that you could buy, etc. But they're less and less fashionable now. Hermès have got a range of Apple Watch bracelets and stuff. But I think that in itself it's a one-off purchase. It's a bit of a novelty, and it's not the future, really.
Of course. I mean, you just mentioned Hermès, which is to me the status brand by definition today, because in this crunch that we are experiencing right now is maybe one of the few that is experiencing actually an increase in revenues. What do you make of Hermès model? Talking about, of course, in-house production, family leadership, and commitment to
well, the family are doing very well out of Bernardo on a position of shares that is a debatable on several fronts about how that price is being manipulated on the stock exchange. Hermès as a brand has a long history. Now, like a lot of luxury brands, it started off at the cutting edge of what it did. It was the best. At a time when a sign of being well off, of being bourgeois or middle class, was that you could travel, that you went for a season here. You needed quality luggage, and these people provided the very best. Saddles, leatherwork, things were the material, the finest materials, cut by the finest craftsmen and provided to the best families. And this was symbolic of your stature. Now, today, that utility is a choice, because if you look at Bella Hadid might have an Hermès saddle with Bella written on the back, but nobody is competitively riding is choosing Hermès. They're well represented at the shows, etc. Those saddles are 3 times the price of something that a professional would ride it on. And you can have your name written on the back. and they're very well made, and they have a certain history and tradition and all the rest of it. It is difficult to find young people to go into that kind of craftsmanship today. It is a hard job where you need to learn practical artisanal skills. You have to sacrifice your time and be essentially in a long apprenticeship before you become an expert in something which is essentially being surpassed by technology. Leather shoes, we admire leather shoes, but if we're running, we want modern materials that are going to be lightweight and weatherproof, etc. And leather just isn't it. Nobody goes skiing in leather coats, for example.
Do you think that's a losing strategy, to keeping a personal academy and a single tailor for?
I think that Hermès sell luxury products. They sell luxury products. You could say, do Ferrari sell luxury products, or do they sell cars? That's a question they've got to ask themselves, and they are asking themselves. Do we sell cars? If they sell cars, they've got to get into the electric market. They've got to sell the vehicles that people can see a relation with. Now, Formula One's got a similar problem. If it's about fast cars, well, how long before electric cars are the fastest? And therefore, does it represent the fastest cars, or does it represent a simple interest group? People who like Formula One today will get old and die. The people who follow racing as a sport like Mario Kart, they like other things, and that might be some big price they have to pay, but in adapting to a new market. Now, I'm not suggesting that Formula One needs to have golden coins on the track or clap along for the popular drivers, but if that's what the audience demands, then it is merely content, and it has a duty to deliver that content, if you like. Now, is it sustainable in any other way? Who knows? It's that's something that, say, horse riding, it still exists. It's now bourgeois pastime that people can do at their leisure, at the weekend, etc. Everybody likes to see that, and it is a symbol of being middle class. But that's not what it is to begin with. It was about getting about. It was about getting from A to B as efficiently as possible. It's not about that anymore. And that brings me neatly back to what I was saying. Hermès, they sell you luxury. They sell you a way of life. They sell you something, an attitude. And they do that very well. They do it better probably than anybody else. And that's something, emotion, that we strive for. That being well taken care of when you buy a brand. And as long as they fulfill that function, then they're always going to ride the crest of a wave. Now, fashion and trends, etc., quality is always in style. I mean, if you think of the classic looks that you consider, say for menswear, it's much easier. You've got double-breasted, etc., and suits and stuff, and you'll see a trend come back in for double-breasted suits. It's something that I've noticed recently, for example, and it's a classic ideal. The width pels here, the width of this, etc. But fine tailoring is always in fashion, and that's the thing. Why you've got yourself a Loro Piana suit, you're going to wear it for 10 years. If they deliver on that promise, then they're going to completely ride it out. But this is what always happens. When we talk about a depression in the market, it doesn't mean that everybody's doing badly. It means that there's not a great upswell. Say a high tide raises all boats. Now, when there was a boom and a glut of money in the economy, people were buying lots of stuff, and I mean at every level. People were buying stuff from Primark, people were buying things from Temu and Shein and all these kind of brands. And now people have just stopped. Consumption is down in pretty much every single market, including food. People are being more careful about the purchases that they make. They're wondering about waste. Now, some of this is from a position of, say, sustainability, the future, caring about the environment, etc. But some of it is just down to prudence. It's down to the fact that people work hard and they expect to be well served by the dollar in the pocket. And you feel it. You feel it. It's an emotion in markets, and it's an emotion how the people are feeling. If you go to a city, you can feel the buzz. I was in Geneva, as I said, I've been around a bit recently. In Geneva, it's just so clean and powerful and strong. You can feel that this is a well-defended citadel of excess, if you like. Whereas even Monaco seems a little shaky coming back. And that's symbolised by everything. The atmosphere, the nervousness, it's very polite here, and I love all that, but the trains coming in. In Geneva, it's like clockwork. You know, and coming into Monaco, if you're lucky if you get a seat. And there's a certain thing. Well, because it's more at the epicenter, there's more of a shift lines perhaps in Monaco than Geneva. You can definitely feel the difference. And that's like, you know, I've mentioned to you the place I've been recently. It's in the air, and that's why it's important to experience what people are saying, how you can see the reaction of people rather than what they say they feel.
I agree. Also, there's one last thing I wanted to discuss with you about the luxury market, which is this new ascending segment, talking about the Hermès. High earners, not rich yet. Why are these luxury brands highly targeting them? And of course, who they are.
The Hermès, high earners, not rich yet, are the crucial demographic for most luxury brands that we know. And I think what they're looking for is the whole package. And this is why they're important. They influence those below, if you like, those aspirational people that might be coming after them. And they are the powerhouse of taste and trend, if you like, that again influence those above them, because this is the generation that matters. These are the people who are having babies, they're buying apartments, they're eating out, they're living hard, playing hard, etc. They're working hard, all these things, and therefore life is all about them. These are, say, just under 30, just over 40, and they're taking life by the throat. Now, what they want is probably too much. Now, I think it was Scott Galloway said something about life's happiness is reflected in that, say, Amazon smile, whereas the big up is the bit where you're a kid with less responsibility. Then there's a dip where you realise you've got to work hard, you've got to bring something of value to the market, maybe learn some stuff, find your place, get some experience, and grind those years really out where it's about hard work, it's about getting forward, it's about putting in the hard yards. And then as you come out of that in your mid-40s perhaps, when you sort of get rid of your mortgage, you're over the hump anyway, your kids are getting to a stage where they're getting independent, where you're back going out with the girl, your partner, or you're back thinking of travelling and stuff like that, then the upswing comes again. But those hard years, you feel like you're rewarding yourself with a good brand, by your membership of a club, by where you eat, etc. The styles that you eat. You want to be on top of it. You only live once. It's that kind of urgency. And that vibrancy has to be encapsulated by the things you wear, and by the places you go, and the things that you eat, and the people you hang out with, and the things you drink. You want to know what it tastes like, you want to feel it, you want to see it, you want to live it. And that's what luxury surely should be delivering. Now, most of the time, and because of the way we live our modern lives, we're doing that on tick. You know, the people are paying this off, they're living in debt, they've got accounts here, they've got this, that, the other. They've got assets of diminishing returns. You know, people are paying too much for their cars. They're moaning about not being able to buy apartments or houses, etc. Again, this comes down to your purchasing power. It comes down to what's expected of you in the workforce and how much of that time is for you. Now, if you get up in the morning and you're tired, you want to look good when you get to work, you want to wear something that makes you feel like you're achieving, the last thing you need to do is look like you're off to the paddy fields in a sort of blue tunic like everybody else. And that aim for originality is something that is that generation, because they can afford it. The people younger than that, they create it because needs must when the devil drives, and it's like necessity is the mother of invention, and all those wonderful phrases which cause creation. Now, that electric thing that you have where you want to make your mark in the world, where you want to have your voice, can come through music, it can come through the arts, it can come through fashion, all of those things, and we want to enjoy them, we want to be part of them. It's communal, and we express that through the things that symbolise us, and we're looking for that in the brands. This is the key. You don't have to advertise or market to people in the sense that the vibe is what people want. They want to feel validated And if you offer them that, and that's what luxury brands are supposed to do, they're supposed to validate your existence, we queue up.
Like a sense of belonging.
Absolutely.
We spoke about the luxury crisis. What do you think today a luxury firm should do in order to stand out from the rest?
I think there is an air of certain brands where you see them, and it can be in simple things, like you can be walking around, where was I? I was in Globus in Geneva the other day, and I was looking at the crockery for some reason. I don't know why. I must have made a mistake. Hey, that's nice. You know, there's something about a collection and you're thinking, oh, that's nice, you know? And it's got to be that. But you're in that environment, you see, because you've sought it out. You've gone, you're looking. Now, I believe it's more difficult to do that on Insta, because you're trying to create that through a tiny little portal. Whereas when we go into a retail environment, which is somebody has created the space, where someone has thought about the lighting, where maybe there's a scent in the air, where there's the ambience, the right flooring, everything has been thought out, the attention to detail just makes that purchasing so much easier.
The whole experience.
It's that, and you say, this could be my living room, you know, this could be my kitchen. This is where it's about creating. Now, if you look at Mariterra here and stuff, the new building, in a tiny little space, an archipelago, they have created the illusion of serenity and space. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for our own little haven. And it's got to deliver on that. That's the most important thing. If a luxury brand wants to stand out, then there has to be a reason we purchased it in the first place, and it has to create something of value. Now, it's not merely the utility. Luxury, the very definition of it, is probably more than you absolutely need. But there has to be a reason why you're reaching that extra, say, couple of millimeters in your pocket to dig out more money. They have to go the extra mile.
I remember the first time ever we talked about the idea of a podcast. You told me to focus on stories.
Yeah.
As a story is the best tool we have for connecting with people and to actually keep them engaged for hours. How important do you think today storytelling is when communicating about a business idea or a product?
Storytelling is, whether people see it or not, it's how we communicate. Now, otherwise it's a list of instructions. Now, everybody understands what a list of instructions are. It's like when you open a book, nobody turns around and says, God, these chapter headings are amazing. I just love this bit where, oh look, it says where it was printed and everything. Nobody's particularly interested in that. Or nobody talks a lot about the font. So I bought this book because of the font. The font's astonishing. Or the quality of the paper is really lovely. It just looks so good. Now, I have mentioned to you that I know somebody who sells books in Monaco by the kilo. And seriously, they buy them so people can put them up in the libraries, and it's by the kilo. And they're more expensive if you want them used. So that means that somebody comes along and thumbs through them to make it look like you've read them. So books in and of themselves can be items, you know, it's just a book. And I think though, it's the story within. It's more poignant when there is a personal connection. There are certain universal truths. We're all looking for validation. We're all looking for answers. And what I think is hilarious to me is the trend and it's particularly in business and stuff, but you get these self-help books, you know, and there seems to be this universal truth: just be yourself. And that shows nonsense. You don't buy a self-help book if you're happy with being yourself, do you? You know what I mean? If you're just content with who you are, that doesn't actually make much sense, to be yourself. So you're going to think, hang on, I'm just kind of at odds with that, you see. I think that we can create, and we do create, stories about ourselves and about the environment that we're in. And the more positive and upbeat we are about that, the more we bring our A game to work. If you bring your game, then you're going to win. You start with an advantage. And that's what people really need to focus on, the characters within. This is my work game, this is my tennis game, this is my being nice to my partner game, this is my remembering that I'm an authority figure to my kids phase. All of this stuff you have a time and a place for it all. Now, it helps if we can see the development of all the good things that we aim for developed in something else. There are no new songs. This has all been done before, and we all know that there are better ways of doing it than perhaps we're struggling with right now. So we want advice, and we see that I get that, that's for me. I can see that. I can see parallels in my own life. I could do that. So why we love people who've made something from nothing is because it means I can start from here. And do you know what? That's the only place you can start from. We can only go from here. That's the old Irish joke. You're asking for directions. Mm-hmm. It says, how do I get to Mullingar? He says, well, I wouldn't start from here. But you've got no choice. We're here.
You play with the hand you're dealt. So
I think if you think that it's comforting as well to know that there's a narrative. We look for, and this is the important thing, you've got a story, but you need structure. Everybody reacts well to a structure. If you want to build a tower, you build a framework first, and then you decide how high you want to be. Now, of course, we need solid foundations, and then we have to think about the scaffolding, we have to think about the vision. We have to have the vision. We have to have courage first. And when people have succeeded or people have failed, there's a story, and there are things to learn, and there are usually points of interest along that path that we ourselves will find ourselves at, and we'd like to reflect perhaps on, is that my story? We can't transmit experience. I cannot tell you what it's like to be a father, but you will experience it and you'll know what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. So I can give you guidance to say this will help in the future, but the experience itself is something that you have to go through. But knowing that people have gone through things before means that you will find the courage to take those steps, because it's always a leap in the dark. And that's the beauty of stories, is that they hold universal truths and they bring us together. It's like we love that. There's nothing better than communal laughter. When we hear a joke, and there's two things that happen when someone's telling you a joke. Half your brain is trying to think of a joke to tell yourself. Now, that's weird, isn't it? Because there's like a sharing aspect going on. And you think, I want to be part of this, you see? And then we all want to be amused. This is the wonderful thing, I think. When they say that it's difficult to perform in front of a public or whatever, 9 times out of 10, people want you to succeed. This is the thing people forget, is that often you're in a space where people are hoping you deliver. And it's the thing about the past is that it holds the key to the future. So relating what occurred and drawing people in, holding someone's interest, that's the whole deal, really. That's, for me, is where communication lies.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. You mentioned before regarding stories, people like those stories where someone there from the bottom of society raised to the top. Oftentimes these kind of stories are manipulated. We think about, for instance, the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, which of course was born into wealth, but he's trying to tweak that story where he didn't have much at the beginning. What do you think about this?
I think a phrase I use, especially here, is you can only play the cards that you dealt. And money or privilege or poverty, all of these things, and people can be jealous of people being in poverty, is like I say, people belonging to a certain racial group. People feel jealous of not having their identity, not having this strong core beliefs or something. There are all kinds of things where people assume things about other cultures. When you have privilege, I think that it has its weight. There are a lot of difficulties with people who come from backgrounds where they have advantages, because there's no pressure. Therefore, it's hard to find an impetus to push yourself forward. And I think that Musk in his life should be given great credit for going as far as they have gone. and their singular ability to create enormous amounts of wealth is to be admired. There's no two ways about that. And it's not in any way a singular occurrence. He's dragged millions of people, or hundreds of thousands of people with him on his journey. Lots of people have talent, lots of people have ability, lots of people have opportunity. It's utilising that to your best abilities and taking that to the next level. That is a great thing. And how you measure success. If you, I'm sure you've heard it plenty of times. People with money always tell you it's not about the money, but they're in a position to be able to tell you that. And again, if you are a person, and I say this about university, you've got one job at university. That's to find something that you want to, that'll make you get out of bed in the morning with a smile on your face. That's the only thing. There's no other. You don't have any other things to worry about, really. Turn up, due diligence, open yourself out to opportunity, put yourself in uncomfortable positions where you don't like talking to these people, but there's something in it for you. There's growth. There's a learning curve. It's a space where you can take advantage of things that are not going to happen every day of your life. Now, because you're in a privileged situation, doors will be opened for you. It's your job to walk through as many of those doors as possible to see what's on the other side. You'll find something you like, and then it's your opportunity and job to take the bull by the horns and give it your best shot. And everything is about that journey. It's not a steep curve. It's not necessarily a downward curve either. What it is it's a learning framework which gives you a support unit that you know you can bounce back from. So, here it is, and there's your next chance. The idea you get one chance, the idea you got one talent is ludicrous. It's all around you. It's boundless, the energy you can see, but it's tapping into that. You can tap into that at any place, and then someone will turn around to you and say, "And what do you bring to the party?" And you just say, "Well, I missed that day at school. I was sick that day." What does that even mean? At some stage, you have to be responsible for who you are. And I think that most of us are searching for the structure which allows us to bring that into play, that we can do this. We've got this. And I believe in, like I say, I believe in young people. You're the best educated, you're the best dressed, you've got the best access to all the information. You are surpassing every record in sports, etc., and education. All the records are constantly being obliterated by your generation, and that fills me with hope, and I'm really happy that the baton is being passed on. This ineptitude, this idea that you're not ready. Nobody's ready. It's about taking on the challenge.
Especially because you get only a small window opportunities. So.
I think you get more than you think, and it's not about the opportunities you missed, is it? It's about the ones you took. That's all. That's what the story means. It's like we live in a time where we're aware of the dialogue, we're aware of the different possibilities, the futures opening up for us, and the difficult times we might be going through, and we're choosing to go with the mad options all the time. It seems clear to me that people are just along for some kind of like thrill ride sometimes by saying, "Well, I wonder what happens if I press this button," and well, it's no surprise if it says danger, then it might be slightly dangerous. But learn from what people say. Take the time. I think patience is a difficult thing for young people.
Oh, especially nowadays. But back to what you said before, money doesn't buy happiness. It's very hard to believe, especially when you don't really have the money. Of course, it's
having no money.
It's a privilege that only the rich people can say. What I think, especially in today's society, is that there's kind of a worship for the money. Where, of course, you are the money you make, and if you are the money, you're great. If you don't, you're a failure.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? And where would you place money when it comes to success?
Well, I think that it is a great incentive, and having money of itself. Money, you know what I saw? Donald Duck's uncle. What's his name? I'm trying to remember his name in English. Is it Scrooge McDuck or something like that? He does a brilliant, it's almost MBA level talk about how money in and of itself is valueless, and it's for investment, and it's for the development of other ideas, and it's about change, it's about flux. It's in and of itself a physical thing. You can't eat it, you can't live off it, you can't stick it in your space rocket and fly to Mars and have some kind of existence off this planet, no matter how much money you've got. That's not it. I mean, literally, quite literally, it makes no difference. The talk, for example, of having a bunker in New Zealand to survive Armageddon is a natural thing. Most of us would be hidden under the stairs or whatever it would be, but surviving is not a goal. Surely to have all your computing skills would count for naught if you've got to go out there and skin radioactive beavers. You know, I mean, I don't know what kind of satisfaction you might feel from that, with a load of other nerds crawling out of tunnels that they owned in a place where they filmed The Hobbit or whatever. It would be surreal beyond all belief. And I think that in and of itself is just incredible. And now, the absence of anxiety is something that money can satiate to a certain degree. Knowing that you can afford your rent, knowing that you can, you know, if you get ill, you can get a doctor, all of those things, you can eat wherever you like tonight. But you've heard the Sinead O'Connor song, Nothing Compares to You, I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant. That, it's just not that, you know? And you go to a fancy restaurant here, you can have some nice food. How many people are happy? And then you go to McDonald's and you see somebody's birthday party. Those kids are happy. They're having a ball, you know, and they probably haven't got a dime between them. And this is the thing. Like I said to you there, Picasso said, we're all artists when we're kids. It's staying an artist when you're an adult. And a lot of this comes down to the commodification of education. It comes down to the expectation, the weight of expectation on everybody. And we measure it. We measure it in different ways. And one of the metrics for success is money. Owning a boat, having a nice car, having another car, having a nice apartment here, having another one in the countryside, having the ability to have people wait on you should you have the slightest whim. All of those things are wonderful signs of success. But there's a reason why we take the element of time out of everything in your leisure. It's because you bring something precious to the table once we're discovering about aggrandizing the economy or helping people into work and all these kind of things, because you have vision, you have something to add. There's something of value. People get up in the morning, and some people, of course, say, oh wow, look at that, my bank account's increased today, I'm now worth more money, and there might be a friction of pleasure for that. But if you can go out and make a difference, even if in a small way, in whatever it is, so you've knocked a tenth of a second off your personal best on your morning run, or your kids just done a piano recital, or they're walking, or all these beautiful things you see in life, or noticing a fantastic garden or tree or sunset or sunrise. All these things are priceless, and we should stop and smell the coffee. That's the thing. A lot of the things we really enjoy in life are not expensive in and of themselves. Commodifying certain things like beaches or sunshine, you can't do it on your own, no matter how much money you've got.
Of course. It's the company along the journey.
For sure. It's the journey, in fact, I would say. I'd argue that it's actually the journey. The destination changes. Most people think it's the job. Once I get this job, I'll be happy. Once I get the house, I'll be happy. Once I get this car, I'll be happy. Once I get... And it's a moving target. And it's getting further away. And if it might be time to question your capacity for happiness, because that's the thing we have to work out. I think I mentioned that they've done studies on people who lost a leg, and they compared them to people who won the lottery. Surprise, surprise, the people who lost a leg were really unhappy. And the people who won the lottery were very happy. But when they came back and interviewed them a year later, they were exactly like they were before. So we have, all of us, an innate level of happiness. You know, maybe you're a 7 out of 10. We all know people who are 2 out of 10, they complain about everything. And then we know people who are just blissful, you know, annoyingly happy all the time, no matter what goes down. And you've got to work on that. Your base level of happiness is often untouched by your income. But personal happiness comes from all kinds of things. Feeling good in your skin, enjoying people's company.
Of course. Someone wise once said there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way.
That's really good. Yes.
I agree with that. Actually, my favorite quote that you once said, and comes from a song by John Lennon, and it's life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans.
Absolutely.
And that tremendously helped me remove all that anxiety for my future, and stay more present and seize those opportunities that may come along. What's your story with this quote, and what brought you to business first place and here in Monaco?
I think life's what. I have made spur of the moment choices that turned out to be, with hindsight, very wise. And you can rewrite a story if you like and make out that you always had this in mind. But essentially, what occurs is there are things. It's Seneca, I can't remember, somebody said the immovable object becomes the way. And say, for example, you see people who become wonderful parents or whatever who didn't want kids, and that's an example of that, if you like. The opportunities that come your way are often by accident. I went to university because I was following a girlfriend there. You know, that's the only reason I went, is because a girl I knew was going there. And then I had to get the necessary qualifications to go to the place, etc. And then I've been in certain areas and I've enjoyed. I've had the opportunity to experiment with certain ideas about, I bet this would work. How about that? Why don't we do this? Setting up an English bar, or so an English speaking bar, or an Irish bar, or something like that. Or why don't we do this? Why don't we try and see about these things? I bet people would like this. And then just trying to make things work for a laugh, without much prospect of, say, ruin if we didn't do it, or people sort of laughing at us or anything. The idea that it's an adventure to go into, that it's like the thrill of making deals, of talking to people, of negotiating, say, a supply chain, or working out how something you believe that you see something, you think this is a good deal. I bet people would like this, that's the kind of thing that I think is really exciting. It gives you certain freedom to deliver. You make a deal with yourself. I think there are very few things in life that allow you to get up whenever you want and go to bed whenever you want and be earning cash at any time in the day than business. And I mean, it's not just an entrepreneurial mindset. I think there's also something about that connection, that this building bridges. There's a construction element to it, that now this is in place, we've brought this to the public, people enjoy this, we can see that there is an affinity here, we can move this, etc. This is the environment we want to be in. And all of those things are powerful drivers, I think. And I think worrying about the future, or worrying about doing the right thing, is missing the point. If you we regret the things we didn't do, and that's a lot of the time. Say, a simple example of that is, say you got a class at 8:30, you wake up at 8, you're like, oh God, I can't be bothered with this today, and then by 9:30 you're thinking, oh God, I wish I'd gone now. Happens. And then you think, I wish I'd gone now, and then you got to dodge. You think, oh, should I go in for the next one? I'll have to dodge the people I should have seen earlier, and then you feel a bit bad about yourself. And then when it's always a win when you go. It's always a win. It might be boring, but you got up because it's for you. You didn't do it for the professor. You didn't do it for anything else. It's down to yourself. that you get up and you went there, and voila, it was a waste of my time. But you've still got the win because you delivered what you're supposed to do. And that's pretty much the things that come across. You say, I don't really want to do that, I don't fancy myself in this. There are challenges and exciting things happening all the time. I mentioned there about, for me, somebody mentioned about sand. And you're thinking, really? We're running out of sand? That's amazing. The West is running out of sand. And you think, oh, okay. And I've read a brilliant book called The Prize by a guy called Daniel Yagin. And if you ever get the chance to read it, it's about the oil bonanza. And that, honest to God, as a metaphor for modern American business, you can do a lot worse than read that book. It's about wildcatters going out there and digging holes in people's farms in the middle of nowhere, believing they're going to find oil, almost like they're mystics and stuff, and then convincing people in big cities to give them money, and then going out and drilling holes and stuff. And the absolute madness of it all, and then the control of it, and then wars happening and all this kind of thing. It's incredibly rich and but every character involved in that sounds like something out of a Wild West fantasy, And these people were larger than life. And I think that sometimes with the security blankets that we throw around everything today, we worry about this, I better get my bus pass, I better worry about my pension. Like 18-year-old people turning around and saying they're worried about their pensions. All these immigrants are coming in, they're threatening my pension. And you're thinking, what? This is not what it's about, I think youth is wasted on the young. As not Oscar Wilde, what's his name? George Bernard Shaw said, youth is wasted on the young. And I think what he means is that once you've got all that energy but no idea how to use it. And if you can just channel a modicum of it and just absorb as much of what's on offer, because like I said, a lot of it is, for whatever reason, the inverse of what we're teaching you. The idea that you advertise to people and you attract them and you do this, people are magnetically drawn to you and to things, and they want to share what they've got. If you go to work all week, you want to go to a bar or a restaurant and have a wonderful time, and you're just dying to be in a space. Is there something, for me this weekend, is there somewhere with this limited amount of funds that I can go and have a great time? And somebody can say, yes, I've got just the thing for you. And then you go there and you're screaming from the rafters, I had a fantastic time at Rupert's at the weekend, or whatever it was. That's the reality of the situation. Life is not a rehearsal, it's now. And this is the time. Do as much as you possibly can. Talk to as many people as you possibly can. Be polite, be diligent, be there. Just be in it. Yeah. That's the difficult thing. Be in the moment.
It's the only thing we have.
It's like I feel for people who turn up for a lecture, say, in that sense, and they'd rather be somewhere else. I admire that. I'm glad that they came. I really think that's a good thing. But I totally get where they're at. I totally get they've got something else to do. I do get a little baffled by a 19-year-old constantly sending messages, on a phone all the time, thinking, wow. It's like, some sort of madly important CEO. And the crazy thing is, the more important people don't do that. That's not what it's about. There's a surety to action, and that comes with maturity, where the strokes that you draw are the important strokes. And all the shading, all that hustle and bustle, that's done by somebody else. The shape, the vision, the size, all of that, it's just there. It's there. That's what I want. Make that happen. And then everybody else runs around, I wonder how we can do this. And it comes together. Now, young people, there's a shift. You're going to become more precious because there's less of you. But the purchasing power, the importance that you have, there was a shift in say the 70s, I think, where the working man wasn't the person who got the extra sausage anymore because he had to go down and lift heavy things or dig holes in the ground. It was the kids. They got the extra sausage because they were going to go to school, you know, and they were going to learn stuff, and they were going to change the world. And now it's shifting again, where we're looking at, well, you've got these, you've had these opportunities. What are you doing with that now? How are you going to shape yourself? And it's difficult, because simplicity needs to be part of your life, where you simplify your goals and then learn the art of contentment. Because if you can't be still in yourself, you're going to find it hard to move. And there has to be that, you have to come to peace with yourself, with being happy with what you're offering. And it's a very complex journey. But the good news is that I believe that people, all of us, are in this together. And I do believe always that the vast majority of people around you wish you well. And they're there to help you. How many countless acts of kindness do you see? And we just remember the bad thing. We always remember the negative thing, but there's just so countless amount of the kindness of strangers. We exist because everybody allows it. We forget that, I think.
What do you mean by, I believe in people, we are the future?
Well, we are, aren't we? We're all we've got. You know, it's like I say, this thing about meeting people, you don't have to like everyone you meet, but you appreciate them more because you know them, because you have that bond. And that bond is almost untouched. It's like being in the same room with certain people. This, you know, so the group thing, if you like, the boundaries that we place on people, group theory, etc. Putting people into a gang, like I said, my big deal about third spaces. I think third space is not work, not home, a space where we experience other people from other backgrounds in a social setting. Perhaps we play tennis or soccer or a group sport with them. Remember saying there are two ways that we have with sport. We have the strongest link sports, where the reason like Bronny James, LeBron James' son can play for the Lakers is because that's a strong link sport. The fact that any team with LeBron in will win 9 times out of 10 unless they come up against Steph Curry's team, you know, so whatever it might be. Those are strong link sports where it doesn't matter, just like everyone can cling on, we'll be fine. Or we have weak link sports like rowing. And that is a great thing from universities, you know, they have row teams. You learn the importance of timing. You learn the importance of detail and knowing that you can rely on the people in front of you, and you have to get that right. And it's more about the timing than the effort even. Because if you just one is slightly out, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter how fit you are, it doesn't matter how strong you are, nothing will change unless you're in complete unison. Now, you have to decide what's right for you. Where do you belong in that? The beauty of it is that it is a team game. And I think that I am constantly, honestly, I just, every year I wonder if I'm going to give more time to going into universities and stuff. And every year I'm so glad I did. Because you bring so much to the party. It's just that kind of nurturing thing is amazing to me, and you've got to know that it's a wonderful place to be. It goes by. It's all too fleeting, you know. You get this opportunity, and it's for economic reasons. There's so many people in university because there's so little for them to do outside. Mm-hmm. If we needed like an army of people to pick up fruit or whatever it was, then that's where you'd be. You know, we'd encourage that, but we don't, and we're not even sure what the future's going to hold now. Technology's running at such a breakneck pace. We're not clear on what we absolutely need, and everybody gets the education the previous generation would have liked. So we were always out of step with that, kind of. So the deal is unclear. We put you in a space, you're expected to learn some stuff that may or may not be useful, but most of all, you're supposed to mix with each other.
Of course, there's no other places where there's so many young people gathering in one single place.
No, I mean, what a wonderful thing to be in, you know, where you're all got, there's always cliques, there's always different cultural things, people come from different backgrounds, people have got different expectations, people have got different advantages. But that's exactly the same every time you walk out to play someone at tennis. Every time you go out, you talk to somebody at a bar. Every time you put yourself out there, you're opening a new door. And sometimes it's just great, you know. Most times it's great. And it's different. You think, oh, wow, that's amazing. I found out one of the guys in school there, he's a singer. And I found out it was amazing, that really, just fantastic stuff, that, you know. And what people think in Moscow, what people think in Beijing, what people think in New York, that's fantastic. Huh?
What I find pretty fascinating is the fact that one single random conversation can truly bring you.
That's right. And you know, one of these conversations is going to lead to the rest of your life.
That's true. Well, to close, I actually have one last question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one piece of advice you'd give to a young adult coming out of university or still in university, someone who's ambitious, wants to grow, but at the same time is quite unsure about his future? What would you tell him or her?
It's an interesting one, that. It's a dangerous one, because I'm torn between, you know, this kind of follow your dreams thing. Dreams tend to be a little unrealistic, and what I mean by that is if you want to be like a quarterback or an opera singer or an actor or something like that, then you're putting yourself in a situation where the percentage of success, the success rate for those kind of things, I think I saw something Galloway said, or one of these people, that the success rate is very low. But you can, like, if you go into like the corporate background, like there's things like Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo, all these kind of like huge, Unilever, etc., have programs in place where they're welcoming graduates into the corporate world. And the corporate world is what built the bedrock of the middle and upper middle class. Those people, and that is in of itself is, if not exactly a meritocracy, it certainly rewards competence, and it rewards people who listen up and deliver. Now, in your first years in business, you will find that there are opportunities to listen and learn from people who have made missteps and have built companies because of their errors, not just in spite of them. And that's a great thing. Now, as you go out, you'll find it's like not what you expect. There's not the you could say the gloves are off in so much as the case is like, if you're going to be out there and you're going to have to pay for your own apartment, you're going to have to pay for your own food and all that kind of stuff, then you want to be able to know that you're doing something that will cover your expectations. Now, your expectations, that's one basket. Then your employer's expectations, or how you build a company's expectations, is something else. Now, going into an entrepreneurial situation as a very young person is very rarely successful. Very, very rarely successful. It's not impossible or unheard of, but it is. If security is important to you, then there are companies that are willing to make a deal where you get a structured development program and leisure time to grow as a person. At Cartier, for example, when they're interviewing, certainly say on accelerated promotion for graduates, they will be asking people about their expectations in life. And this isn't about being in the sea level by the time they're 30. This is about, do you want to climb K2? You want to see Patagonia? Do you want to weave baskets? You know, you want to do like special yoga positions or something like that? How do you develop as a person? A developed person brings more to the table. If you're like, I talked to somebody here the other day, and he's a doctor, and he designs buildings, hotels, you know, that's what he does. but he didn't have any training at that. But it's like people have passions. Is what defines you? Is it the fact that you get up in the morning and you do extreme frisbee? Is it the fact that you are a downhill skier? Do you snorkel? Are you looking forward to seeing if that octopus is still in the place, blah, blah, blah? Are you going to cook an amazing Thai meal at the weekend? What is it that you're taking the opportunity to do with your life right now? Now, there are corporate things you might have to do. There are places you might have to go. There are things you might have to learn about. You can do that. You can do that because you've been to a university. We are aware of the fact that you can spend years producing reasonable quality work. We get that. That's what the certificate means. Now's the time to grow. You can be around a lot. If the best thing you can do is get in early, be the first one in the building, that's a great thing. You know, be the guy who sat down at the table. It's so impressive that the American kid in your class, every time I walk in that room, he's already sat there. You never forget things like that. It's so easy to do. It's really easy, that. You know, and that's a real big plus point. I really admire him for doing that. You know, because it's not nothing, that. You know, there's another girl I mentioned there, she's always polite. It's not nothing. It's not nothing, that. Now, you can think what you like about those people, you can tell me whatever it is, but I'll tell you this, that sticks. It's the things that are... When you're a young person, I had an epiphany. I think I told you when somebody was really sorry for not handing in work on time or not doing something, and I had a flashback to myself, and I meant it when I said it, you know. And so do you, you know, so do young people. And then shit happens, you know. Life happens. The thing you weren't expecting, it happens, and you're like, and then you suddenly, oh my God, no, and then you've got to face that person. It's okay. That's okay. Being a person is okay. What you have to do is own it. You have to own that, and you have to learn from it, and you have to do it what's expected of. Deliver. You have to deliver. You have to deliver diligently, politely. All that thing counts for so much. Have a wash. Have a shave. You know, wear a clean shirt. All those things are a light shirt. That guy's he always looks really smart, him, doesn't he? Well, send that guy. Nobody gives a monkeys about your Excel Pro things. If the dude is always here early, you have a conversation with him because he's here early. So you know more about his life. You know, the guy who goes to the gym early with you or whatever it is, you know more about them. There's that contact that you're doing. All of those things are achievable by anyone who thinks about it. They're not beyond anyone. And that they're really important. And I think that, well, I'm here all the time. I do this, I handed it in. Wait, okay. That's good. But who are you then?
Henry Ford once said, there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who think they can, those who think they can't. And both of them end up being right.
That's so true.
Where do you see is the fine line between, you know, delusional dreams and ambitious
goals?
It's
a tough one because, you know, it is a tough one. It's like there's a point, isn't there, where you realise you're just not going to get Roland Garros, you know, or you're not going to play soccer for Man City. And that for me was last week. I think it's like you realise it's just not in your skill set, and you wonder if only I'd have done this, if only I'd have done that, and most of the time it's not that, you know. There's so many things that have to fall into place before you become one of those unusual individuals, and I admire people who've gone, you know, years without eating or whatever to become Oscar-winning actors, and I just wonder if that's the only route they could take. You know, I think there's multiple paths, and the idea that there's a right path and a million wrong paths, I don't believe that's true. I think that they're all reaching into the future, and there are some bad paths. Avoid them. Just avoid them. You know, and then every day is an opportunity. Every single day is a lottery ticket. And it's like, it's worth a lot. It's worth a lot. Your health, your friends, your family, those things that pass so quickly. Take the time. You know, there's something, and anyone who's listening to this should do it. go and buy a postcard. And I've done this with certain classes. I haven't done it with your class. I've come in myself because people are so lazy. Go and buy yourself a postcard. They cost 50 cents. Not even a nice postcard. It doesn't have to be great. You don't have to think about it. You buy a postcard. You write on the back of it, thinking of you. That's all you've got to do. And then send that to your mom. Send that to your grandma. Send it to someone you care about who's a long way away. And just see what happens. Just see what happens. They'll have it pinned on their fridge. They'll tell their friends, this is it's my grandson who sent me this lovely postcard. It costs you $1, you know? And you're a saint. Now, you send a WhatsApp to someone, you say, hey, I was thinking about that, I'd just like to thank you for this. All of those develop your ability to hear it and to make it, just do it. And you'll never regret that. You'll never regret it. And you know something with you guys and stuff like that, go ask her out. What's going to happen if she says no?
Same position as you were before.
Then, you know,
yeah.
Just do it. You know what I mean? Seriously, go ask her out. The girl you think is too pretty for you, she just maybe doesn't get asked out that much because everybody thinks that. And there might be some smack. Go ask, go find out. Mm-hmm. Make yourself feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Development is on the other side.
If you want to be comfortable, go and make yourself uncomfortable. That's the road.
Yeah, that's where development lays. How important is family to you?
Immensely important, more and more as time goes on. And it's interesting that I see my boys, and that's what I'd like to develop, the idea that I'd like to be more peripatetic kind of with everyone as they get a bit older. I'd like to float, you know, around everywhere. Go 6 months in New York, 6 months in Australia, and then take it as a family unit, do that, have it online, generate enough income to go somewhere exciting, enjoy the world when they're still young, and have them with me. See all my old people and you know, sisters and siblings and stuff, and as much as I can. And we've got the Outlaws coming for Christmas this year, my Beau Perron, and none of that, they're not getting younger and stuff, and you want to enjoy them while they're here, and say the things you want to say to them, and just make that time, you know. It's like, watch that rubbish program they like, you know, with them, and those sort of things. I mean, I don't know, what was it the other year? Something, you know, like, is it cake or something? And it's a rubbish, you know, it's a TV show where very skilled chefs create cakes that look like telephones or handbags, and you've got to choose which one is a handbag and which one's a cake. And it's American TV. But wow, it was a laugh with the people that we were watching it with, and we had all sorts of silly things. That's just priceless. You know, value, we came back to it all the time. Them things, they stay with you, you know, and it can be minimal effort, you know.
100%. Callaghan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you. Best for the future.